The smartest people in the room are often the hardest to teach. Not because they lack intelligence, but because they're already full. Studies show we retain almost nothing when we're certain we already know the answer. Sound familiar? You've probably walked into conversations with your conclusion already written. After this video, you'll catch yourself doing it and know exactly how to stop. This is the ancient lesson Buddha taught with nothing but a teapot and a cup of overflowing tea. It was a quiet afternoon. An old teacher sat alone on the porch of a small hermitage in India. The light slanting through the eaves moved slowly across the earthen floor, gradually deepening into the colors of evening. The wind carried the smell of dry soil and distant wood smoke. The voices of students had faded long ago. Everything was still. Then a man appeared at the gate. He was dressed in merchant's clothes, his sandals white with road dust, and he carried in his hands a small wooden box, as though it contained something fragile or precious. The teacher did not rise, did not speak, only watched as the man crossed the courtyard with the careful steps of someone who has rehearsed what he intends to say many times over a long journey. He was a scholar, well known in the villages nearby. From childhood, he had devoted himself to learning. He had read stacks of sacred texts, and in philosophical debate, no one had ever bested him. You could almost feel the weight of his knowledge just from the books he carried under his arm. He had heard of the Buddha's reputation and come to see for himself. Though somewhere in the back of his mind, there was a quiet certainty. I probably already know more than he does. The Buddha welcomed him gently. "How good of you to come. Please, sit. Let me make you some tea." The scholar blinked, a little surprised, but he sat down and waited. The Buddha took a bowl, set it before the man, and began to pour from a small clay teapot. Slowly, steadily. The bowl filled to the brim. Still he kept pouring. Tea spilled over the edge and onto the mat. "Please stop. It's overflowing, there's no more room." The scholar couldn't help himself. The Buddha set down the teapot and looked at the man, calmly and directly. "You are this bowl." The scholar went quiet. "You have come here full of knowledge, full of conclusions, full of certainty. Whatever I might say to you, there is nowhere for it to go. Before anything new can enter, the bowl must first have some room." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The scholar stared at the spilled tea in front of him, and for the first time he realized he had not come here to listen. He had come to debate, to measure himself against this man, but he had never once thought, "I want to receive something." Then quietly the Buddha spoke a verse. "The lazy one cannot learn, but even the earnest one, if the heart is closed, learns nothing. Only the open heart can receive what is true." That day the scholar stayed for a long time, but this time he was not there to speak. He was there to hear. When he finally rose to leave, his arms were empty. He had set his books down on the mat sometime during the afternoon and forgotten to pick them up again. Walking home along the dusty road, he noticed the sky, the sound of birds, the way the light fell through the leaves, things that had always been there, things he had walked past 1,000 times without once seeing them. The bowl in this story is a picture of the mind. Watching tea spill over the edge, it almost looks a little absurd, doesn't it? But if we look honestly at our own daily lives, we might find ourselves in exactly that state more often than we'd like to admit. Think about a time when someone was explaining something to you. Halfway through, a thought appears, "Oh, I already know this." And even while they're still talking, your mind has already moved on, already formed its conclusion. Or perhaps you've built up such a solid sense of how things work, from years of experience, that new ideas or new ways of doing things simply can't find a way in. That too is a bowl that's filled to the brim. The Dhammapada, a collection of the Buddha's words, sometimes translated as verses of truth, returns again and again to this idea: the one who truly knows themselves is wise. But knowing yourself doesn't mean cataloging your achievements or your expertise. It means being able to say, with honesty, "There are things I don't yet know. My way of seeing things may be incomplete." That kind of awareness, the Buddha called it real wisdom. In some traditions, this is called beginner's mind, approaching things as a beginner would, without the weight of assumed answers, without the armor of already knowing. And the bowl doesn't only fill up with knowledge. It fills with anger, with pride, with old assumptions, with judgments we formed long ago and never revisited. When all of that is packed in tight, there is simply no room for anything new to land. To empty the bowl is not to become ignorant. It is not to throw away everything you've built. It is simply this, to make a little space, right now, in this moment. From that space, the things that truly matter can finally enter. A monk who had practiced for 40 years once confessed to his teacher that he found it harder to listen than when he first arrived at the monastery. "Good," his teacher replied. "Now you know what you've been carrying." Noticing the weight is itself the beginning of setting it down. So how might we carry this into ordinary life? Think about the workplace. After years in a field, you naturally develop a feel for things. This is how it's done, this is what works. That experience is real, and it has value. But sometimes that same weight of experience becomes a kind of wall. A younger colleague comes to you with a new idea. Before they finish speaking, something in you has already decided, "We tried that, it didn't work." The conclusion comes before the listening. Just once, what if you tried receiving it first? I hadn't thought of it that way. Before deciding anything, that one small shift can change a whole working relationship. The same is true with children. When we say, "I'm doing this for you," we often mean it with full sincerity, and yet that love can quietly harden into certainty. "I know what's best here." We think we're listening to our children, but inside the answer is already formed. Their words arrive, but they don't quite land. When a child comes to you wanting to talk, what if you set your answer aside just for a moment and simply listened? Not to respond, not to guide, just to hear. Children feel that, and that feeling becomes the ground trust is built on. In relationships too, when we decide early that we know who someone is, we stop being able to see them. Past hurts can cause us to lock not just that door, but every door that comes after it. To empty the bowl is not to become naive or defenseless. It is only to leave the door slightly open. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, before the day begins and before you've already decided what kind of day it will be, what if you pause for just a breath and thought, "I wonder what today will bring," not with dread, not with assumption, just with a small, quiet openness. That alone can change what you notice. It can change what finds its way to you. The Buddha did not only teach methods of practice to his students, he told them that this willingness to receive, this posture of genuine listening, was the very beginning of the path. Even the most profound teaching cannot reach a closed heart, but an open one can find wisdom in the smallest, most ordinary moments. A farmer who plants in hard, compacted soil may work just as hard as his neighbor, but the seed has nowhere to go. The ground itself must be prepared, turned, made ready to receive. Our hearts are no different. The empty cup only means something when we understand what it means to clear the mind in the first place. We explored that in a previous teaching on sweeping, stillness, and what it really means to cleanse the mind. The link is waiting for you in the description below. There is really only one thing I wanted to share with you today. Knowledge is a gift. Experience is a gift. Everything you have learned, everything you have lived through, that is yours, and it is real. You don't need to let any of it go. But every now and then, not always, just sometimes, try tilting the bowl, not emptying it completely, just making room for one more sip. In that small space, something unexpected might slip in, a quiet realization, a moment of seeing something differently. The scholar who watched the tea overflow, in that moment, something in him shifted. It wasn't humiliating, it was the beginning. The real learning started there, not before. Thank you for being here today and for listening the way you did. Tomorrow, when someone begins to speak, see if you can set your answer down for just a moment and let their words arrive. That small act of making room might be the most important thing you do all day. Perhaps you are washing the dishes and your child walks in with something urgent to say. You have heard this kind of story before. You already know how it ends. But what if, just this once, you set the sponge down and turn to face them fully? The dish can wait. What arrives in that pause may surprise you. It surprised me once.